Welcome back. This is another sketchbook tour. We went through several of my very old ones, and now we're on to somewhat a more recent one, I suppose. Actually, you know what? Now that I think about this, this is a portfolio that I put together of some of my favorites, although not all of my favorites, and especially not now with my current taste. But I'd like to show you this little portfolio that I had made. Again, I'm Zach, and I draw on YouTube. So if you want to watch and participate, request anything, I'd love to learn from you and gather some feedback on what I could do better as an artist. So check out the first page. This is the support you pose that I came up with, and it has to do with, my apologies for this blinding china ball that I have hanging on the ceiling here. But this is a pose that I imagined of a girlfriend, myself, which actually doesn't work in real life. I think I, at some point in my life, tried this pose where, balanced on the knees is the back of the head, and you're just close and reclining, kind of talking to each other. It doesn't really work that way. It's definitely not comfortable for the smaller person. But it was really cool to draw what looks like a very loving and endearing face, and classic little hint at other interests, the Jikatabi shoes. Oh yeah, check out this one. So this is based on The Scarlet Dancer, which is a already famous painting, and I added a little bit of my own touch, adding the rest of the figure, the leg wrapping around my leg, and inappropriate positioning of the hands. This is, what it's like being a young man without a girlfriend. You just imagine yourself in a situation that's impossible. This was possibly a self-portrait done in ink, just a regular pen, and I thought that looked really cool. If you look kind of closer, you can see it's just very, very messy around the sides, which I was fine leaving it at that. It's kind of cool. Oh yeah, so these are fun. This one, another self-portrait, very stylized face here. Classic broad shoulders of mine, toes digging down into the sand, other foot digging up the sand, and this outfit that I thought would be just perfect for the shore, right? Loose shirt with the tie at the top, which I never actually got a shirt like this. Spandex pants for spandex shorts for swimming, so that your trunks don't suction to everything going on. And but yeah, definitely the eyes. Let's check out the structure of this very slender face. I just loved how sketchy and how perfect that turned out. I think I don't necessarily look like myself there, but it looks pretty neat. This is a really, really awesome one. If you look right here, you can see there's something on the other side of the page that's I just got this like a brochure at a hospital waiting room when I was going to the doctor one time, and I saw this woman expecting, and she was just sitting there, and I drew it like that, really, really fast with a green ink pen. I wrote curious because she kept looking over at me, and she could tell what I was doing, and right afterwards I showed her the drawing, and she was super, super touched, really flattered. Definitely not the impression that every single person has gotten after I draw them, but she was really, really flattered by it, and turned out really good, really, really fast artwork. Let's get a nice close-up shot of the face there. Really, really cool. Looked a lot like her. I think she was wearing glasses, though. That was the only big difference. Same day, this person also waiting. I don't think he was waiting with that other person there, the woman on the previous page, but sketched him. I don't think I ended up showing him what the drawing finally looked like. But it's pretty cool. It was a really neat thing to be able to rapidly draw someone in person. This was, I think, my very I think actually this is my very first commission. Someone I had never met, a person named Leanne. I just said, hey, I'll draw a picture of you. Met her online through another friend, and it looks pretty identical to the original photo that she sent me. I think after that, and she said, oh wow, that's neat, or whatever, she never talked to me again. So hopefully she didn't like it that badly. So these are kind of fun. This is my friend Louie, who he's standing on a portable radiator, plug-in radiator. But boy, this looks so much like him. I just had him pose for me, and he wanted me to draw him with his trench coat and his boken katana, bokuto, as I now know how to call it. And then this is super sweet. I don't think this is based on anything, just straight from imagination. Super cute little boy. Kinda maybe looks like my little boy. I don't know. But this is significantly earlier than I ever saw him. But super adorable. Definitely captured that childlike innocence. All right, there's some cool ones coming up here. Check this one out. This was a really fast 2003 pen drawing that I did. I'm going to try to show it to you here. Really neat. This was someone that I met at Ye Old Bedford Village. I believe she and her family worked there or volunteered there, and as you can see by the period style clothing here, barely visible, but this is her, like, very curly hair, pulled back, tied up, and just the messiness of this pen just made it look so beautiful. Really was going through an awesome phase of enjoying the pen and how I could just let myself not worry about erasing, just let it be, and it turned out just gorgeous. Love this nose. That was a great realistic nose. Not sure if it looks very much like her, but I really loved how it turned out in the end. This is a special one. This is really good creepy stuff. This is a copy of, with my own twist, a copy of an very early depiction, maybe the earliest, I don't know, of the Jabberwocky. The Jabberwock, 'twas brillig and the slithy toes, it gyre and gimbled in the wave, all mimsy where the burrow goes, and the moment I saw it green. You know what I'm talking about. But this is super interesting. It's terrifying. Those lazy eyes, they're not like snake style eyes with the slit that everyone does. They're kind of dumb looking. You have these huge buck teeth, only 4 teeth visible, and this long gaping floppy mouth, hairs stringing off of the cheeks, and just like all the stuff you don't want to be touched by, right? Bat wings, large antennae, and just the strangest claws. Look at how they begin here and curve down, and they just look like, I don't know what, like trees with no branches or leaves, just like bark hanging off of them. Terrifying, very terrifying. Various different parts of it. Now, in the original drawing that I'm copying here, he was actually wearing like a vest, some clothing, right? And there was like the boy here, the beamish boy with his vorpal blade, and he was swinging towards the Jabberwock. But instead, I drew him maybe more realistic, without a vest on, right? And one of the things as strange as it is to point this out, I'm super proud of the fact that I thought to do this. When you see some people that have a lot of extra fat on their body and their chest, their nipples just sort of get hidden by that extra fat right there. And I just loved that. I thought to do that. It just adds this sort of familiarity enough that it's humanoidish to make it creepy, right? It's definitely not a humanoid other than arms, legs, right? But this just adds that extra little touch of something that makes you want to turn away, kind of be frightened of. So super proud of the Jabberwock. I've always been fascinated by the Jabberwocky. Just the idea of some indescribable creature. Really, really fascinating. Yes, check it out. So, in the church that I belong to, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the youth during high school years go to what's called seminary. It's not the same as like a Catholic seminary or any other type of seminary where you go to become a priest or nun. But and on the contrary, it's an extra class in the more populated Utah. Apparently, they have whole seminary buildings or classes that you can actually leave school to go to, or it's on near school campus or something like that. Never been, but we would have early morning seminary in Pennsylvania, which has the least amount of members per capita out of all the United States, at least back then it did. And this was a depiction of some of the characters that were there. There was myself, who, albeit yawning and very tired at, I think it's 6:10 in the morning is when class would start, raising my hand, always participating. Another kid I knew named Mike, who just was not a morning person, needless to say, and very much was in that position very frequently. I can't remember what my little sister's typical pose may have been, but this is a typical outfit of hers, and this is probably the most realistic portrait of my little sister that I've done. I think that more than perfectly captures exactly how she looked. Maybe some slight differences, but the long curly hair, bandana, medium baggy jeans. That's typically what the scene looked like. Let's see, there's a couple more here. My friend Emily, who sitting up could fall asleep, something I didn't know was possible until I became apparently as tired as she in the future. But that kind of looks like her. Megan, always writing, always highlighting in her scriptures. That somewhat looks like her. Not too bad, but I got a consistent style going on here. These are kind of consistent. A couple more characters from that early morning seminary class. Pamela and Dave. Pamela was just like a numbers freak. I mean, it's probably benefiting her a ton now in her career 17 years later. But she could remember every single reference, even though she couldn't necessarily memorize entire verses of scripture. But she knew where all of them were. If you told, so I put all these just zillions of references right here because she could list them off really easily. I think maybe that somewhat looks like her. I think you could tell if you were in that class who was who. This is Dave over here. So Dave, stoic, and got that consistent style. Again, not paying too much attention to the shoes, but working on the face primarily. One of the few scenes where it just made sense to continue to draw a background, right? There's one more over here of I tried to capture her really sharp features, Nicole, but didn't quite come across the way it ought to have. But she was another one that would participate and had a little smile. But there was one more picture that was kifed because I was drawing maybe a little too honestly of two other characters from early morning seminary that would always one, put on makeup, and two, just always be chatting with each other during that time. And so I think one or the other found it somewhat offensive and removed my display of these pictures at our seminary graduation, which I don't blame them. So albeit not necessarily proportionally correct, I feel like some legs are long, maybe legs are short here. It's hard to tell, but this was done swing dance style for I don't know what got me interested in swing dance, but the focus is on the fact that I was doing this with pen, not worrying about how sketchy it looked, not worrying about anything, and I really did capture some really sweet looks on their faces. This is just drawn from imagination. So props to young Zach for pulling that off. Okay, cool. The life, right? Myself, drawing myself somewhat accurately. The hair, large forehead, nose, somewhat hairy chest, hairy belly, armpit, like just drawing something real, some palm trees in a scene I've never been, right? But there were these key things that I found just so delightful in certain media growing up as a teenager, and one of them was from Final Fantasy VII, Cloud's Villa in Casa del Sol. Just this awesome escape getaway resort, and the music, the sights, and the thought of clear water, it's just unfathomable to me in Little Johnstown, Pennsylvania. Also, similar beach-related scenes were done here, and part of this was Fiji, based on Truman from the Truman Show's interest in escaping so far away on the other side of the world that you can't get any further without coming back, without turning back home. And so Wataneo is the other one. Andy Dufresne from Shawshank Redemption dreamt of this place, and finally at the end of the film you got to see what Zihuatanejo looked like. And Kokomo, this fictional place that, as I found out significantly later on, does not exist, sadly. But these dream sensations of being somewhere where you can fully relax and enjoy just calming peace and beauty surrounding you. And as you can see here, what am I holding but nothing other than Stewart's Key Lime Soda, my favorite soda. Ultimately my favorite flavor. I really do think that key lime is just divine. This is a copy. You can tell just by the style. These lines are pretty definitive, and it feels a little abstract, but boy, it's a cool picture, and I'm glad that I tried this. It's the Louisiana Welder of 1963. Just a little study I did. I don't think I necessarily picked up too much from this. You can see in my copying, the nose had all three bumps, half circles around it, and then the lips. Oh, see, this is so funny how it's only more recently, now that I'm 35, so this is 17 plus years later, I am now drawing that little what's it called, Cupid's arrow on the upper lip right there. And it's kind of sad that I wasn't perfecting my lips or working on the lips too much, and the shading as well, right under the lip. Not something that I really implemented until fairly recently. Same thing, copying the Moscow Truck Driver of 1957. This guy smoking away here with his Newsies cap, golfer's cap. Definitely a cool look. It feels like the kind of guy that my dad would draw, and I bet my dad appreciated this when he saw it. Check this one out. This is an interesting way to do this. Here, I'll try to fix that lighting. But this is a depiction of my friend Louis at age 60. Look at how he's like completely off the page, and by this point, still wearing his fedora. He's got, gray or white hair, has this almost Chinese style minimalist goatee with a little bit of mustache going on the sides, and still wearing his trench coat right here, as you see. But what's happening here is his skill at the sword had become so powerful that he could wield a blade without even needing a handle built around the tang. And so he would just hold it like that. That's how powerful it was. Makes no sense, but thought it was cool at the time. Drawn from memory? No. No, this is a drawn from imagination. Myself at age 60, also battle ready. Just a little rougher and scringier looking. I don't know. It looks like I got a part almost in the middle of my hair. There's like some kickback going of this shadowed gun here. It's just silly, right? But it's kind of fun to see like the wildness of it, like the flipping up of the collar and the flipping out of the sleeve, and the smoke. The style smoke here is kind of cool. I'd seen this somewhere, probably in one of the rare few comics I ever purchased, one of the Gambit spin-off comics, where they draw around it and then draw like the holes in the middle of the smoke and fill in around it. It's kind of fun. This is probably a depiction of myself in a sneaking suit from Metal Gear Solid. Solid Snake wearing these cool big padding things around the neck. I just always wanted to try on a sneaking suit. That just sounded really, really cool. Really dig that. Anyway, 2003. That's what I was doing. I'm missing something here. But yeah, mainly it's all about the suit. Here's a portrait of one of my best friends named Tim. I don't think this necessarily looks just like him, but there was a photo that I was copying this from, and there's just a quality about this which is pretty neat. It's pretty cool to see how that turned out. If you look very, very closely, you don't see a whole lot of detail in the eyes. Nothing is terribly crisp. It's still really sketchy. I must have been learning how to take the art of not worrying about how sketchy things looked from using a pen and translated it to using a pencil. This is a super cool one. I don't think it necessarily anatomically looks right, or the perspective's not just right. But this is a scene from a dream that my friend Emmeline had, where we were in a crowd and I was getting lost behind. There's me in my ponytail right there, and she pushed past people to grab my hand and pull me through the crowd. That's the end of the dream, as far as I understand. And I thought I really nailed her hair, but this is another example of me not wanting to ruin the whole image by drawing the eyes, and so I think there's something going on here about how brazen we were. I'm like pulling past someone who, as you can see, like one of the only people with some detail is looking at me like, hey, who's pushing past me here? And this guy's getting pushed in the face by her as she's coming through. And even though those weren't details in the dream, I just kind of figured this is kind of matched her attitude, if you were to ask me. This is cool. This is an outfit I believe I saw in that useless film. Sorry. I'm sure people think my films are useless as well. But Kirsten Dunst in the film Crazy Beautiful, I believe is what it was. And it was so minimal, as in like it like was so loose and fitted, and like just like these little straps. I thought it was just like such an interesting design to just hang on the person. Really, really neat. And this cross lattice focus shading around her and the hair. I just thought that was really good. The look on her face is definitely in that sad realm there. That turned out really cool. Now, if you remember from an earlier drawing in one of my sketch pads, my dad had drawn in the back, at my request, a pagoda. Well, we did this thing where we traded off actually, and I drew something that he requested, Muhammad Ali, and I did this from photo, probably on a book that he owned, and as far as I recall the story, my dad's like huge fan of a few things, right? Muhammad Ali is one of them. Religion, mafia, Godfather, and those sort of things. Oh, and baseball, of course. Don't forget baseball. And art. So I drew this. He drew the pagoda for me, and it turned out really good. I think that's some really good stuff. I titled it "The Greatest." It's kind of fun. Brief, sketchy portraits of a couple of people that I knew. Wally, his style right there, big smile, fun hair, and I could be wrong about who this was. Possibly my friend Laura Beth, and over here, let's see. Really love the pose. Really loved a couple of things about this. This is, I call this the girl who could make things burn. And a couple of things going on, right? Pigeon toes, love that. The knees bending in towards each other. That means the pelvis angled inward, and something going on here, like the pelvis angled inward and the tummy appearing somewhat round. There's definitely something not perfectly skinny about this girl, and I just love that detail. I think it's just divine. And if you look real closely, just some fun detail on the face. Very sketchy, very minimal, and some other comic book style, like elements floating about her as she's conjuring her burning power. Short haircut. It's kind of fun. I was like really enamored with short haircuts, girls back then. And let's go on to this one. This is pretty sweet. This one I thought in a lot of ways looked very much like my friend Laura Beth. It's, I tried a couple of little elements here, like on a hillside, some odd creatures, but I feel like I captured the hair, the body shape, and most definitely the lips there. Really, really distinct, and just a beautiful, serene sight here. Really, really cool. One of my favorites. Titled this one Hajime Mashite, which I thought meant like let's get started, or begin the fight, begin the round in kendo. But this one's really cool because what I added to it, what I didn't know about it. See, I didn't know that the men armor doesn't come up to a point necessarily. It comes up to a square edge, and so my version of having these points that came up, it seems as though they only come up and make that pointy, curly shape, and never this much, ever, I don't think. But they make that curl because of use, like they just use that much until it happens. But yeah, like full do armor, tsuki, kute, and tare, I think, is what the guard is over the waist, and the hakama, shinai. Really, really cool. Love that drawing. One of my faves, for sure. Aha. Well, let's just get right to it. I was super proud of this one. When I was 13, I drew this, and I just thought that in and of itself was impressive, because I wasn't drawing anything like this at age 13, 12 or 13. I think it was 13. And as you can see, again, avoiding drawing the hands and the feet, and yeah, this is a portrait of a person in an art book that I saw. Actually, just to be on the record here, I made her a little bit more modest than she was in the photo. This is a drawing of a dream that my friend Emmeline had of herself falling. She had fallen from like a 2-story rafter in a barn where she lived, and didn't break any bones. Surprisingly, she landed on cement, didn't break any bones, and when she was 8 years old. And she's claimed that ever since then she had a stronger tolerance for pain. Kind of fun details about this are I went for the eyes. I did it. I filled in the eyes. Really minimal. I'm doing this all with pen, as you can see, and I added some color around her little girl dress, and just this like idea of her hair floating there. This is an angle looking straight upward into the barn rafters, and she said in these dreams that she would have, she would fall down, and right before she hit the ground, she would stop and just float there and look at the ground and then wake up. So this is her looking at the ground, right at you. Thought that was really fun. Let's see here. Yes. So some may remember that I used to do costume design, not just the design, but the actual tailoring and sewing and construction of certain costumes. I remember, and I started this, I don't know, 12, 13, 14, 15. I was developing designs and making costumes. And in the McCall's magazine, there's this one model that I had a super big crush on, and I drew this picture of her, and I remember my friend James saying, and here's a picture of James. I remember my friend James saying, when I told him about that, he goes, "And that, Zach, is what scares her the most." Which, touche. That was in 2000. Year 2000 right there. This is James. This was a portrait drawn based on I think it was just that much of him that we could see in the background of one of his, I think he was on a skiing club or something, and his hair was being blown in front of his face a bit. You really couldn't make out any details in his face like other people in the front of the group photo. But here again, if you remember an older drawing that I shared with you in a previous video, there's his symbol on his sleeve there, and a little hint towards what's underneath his disguise on the outward, his Jikatabi ninja shoes. Super cool. Really love that. Oh yeah, so this is just gorgeous drawing, and I can't even begin to express how much better the original drawing looks like. So this is a copy, and there was something about the lips that I just couldn't quite capture, and the nose. Of course, you can see my classic nose, very boxy, but it's just such a gorgeous thing. Like the hair overflowing, overwhelming, and whatever she was wearing is up all the way to her chin, and you really don't see much of her face right there. It's barely anything, but it was just such a gorgeous drawing, and really this only reminds me of what it really looked like, which I hope to one day find the origin of that drawing someday. But that's it. That's my portfolio from the way early 2000s, and I hope that you enjoyed, and I hope that you'll stick around for some more. Subscribe somewhere right here in the middle of the video, like it, hit the bell, and hopefully we'll get to do some more art pretty soon. Thank you guys, appreciate you.